Hey, thanks for tuning into my channel. I'm Redbeard the Hippie, and today's subject matter on this podcast is photography, why we do it, and what we take pictures of. Me, I'm predominantly a concert and live music photographer, and I also do nature stuff, and then from time to time, I'll just go get lost in abandoned buildings or, street photography. I don't really know what classification I have because I don't really worry too much about the classifications of different things. I take a lot of pictures for the underground music scene, which is my biggest thing that I deal with. For me, I'll go to a concert, and if there's like the last one I went to, it was in 2 days, 19 bands, and I took almost 1,000 photos. So for me, the time-consuming part is you got to go through and you got to check all the photos to see which ones are blurry, which ones you like. If you're taking pictures of drummers, for me, I'm usually snapping quite a few because you want to get the right picture of the drummer. You don't want him to just be like, or hands down on the snare, things like that. You want to get that cymbal crash or that movement picture because for me, that's where the shot is. It's a little more challenging at times depending on the lighting and everything and which concert venue I'm at. Stupid fucking hair. And let's see, I was talking about concert venues. Yeah, the lighting at every concert venue that I've been to is completely different, so it depends on which lens I'm going to use. Lately, I've predominantly been using my 50mm lens because for me that works the best. I'm usually either up close or on side of the stage. Every now and then I'll get one of my other lenses out and take some photos with it. Depends on if the band is also moving a lot. Depends on all the other stuff I got to set up. I usually don't get too involved in it. The majority of the time I usually stick with just the standard settings on it because trying to set it for each different concert venue is for me a challenge because there's like 3 in Nebraska I regularly hit, 1 in Salina, and every time the lighting's usually a little different or the band's different. There's so many things for it. For me, I usually just use in the editing software where I can tweak the photos the way that I want them to look as long as they're not blurry or came out crappy. But yeah, a lot of the times when it comes to those, it's the movement, trying to get the right angles, trying to get different angles. It's never the same. I don't want to. Obviously, you're going to repeat yourself because certain venues, there's only certain angles you can get. But trying to do some different things. I saw one photography for one time. He was doing all these crazy movements, like laying on the dance floor upside down, taking photos, and I'm going, dude, my back can't handle that shit. Neither can my knees. So half the time, if I'm bending down to get a picture, it takes me 2 minutes to get back up. For me, that's just the way that I am. But comes to find out, that's that guy's stick. Is he will take different angles, and I'm going, you can just flip the photo in editing if you want them to look like they're standing on their heads. But hey, to each their own. That's not my deal. There are so many photographers that I see in the local music scene that I become friends with that their photographs are phenomenal. Even though I've got some friends that are like, oh, your photos are godlike. No. I'm just lucky and fortunate enough that I can get pictures that turn out good. And I use a lot of the editing software. They're like, you're too humble when it comes to that. Well, you have to be because there's always room for improvement. You can find different editing techniques. You can get different lenses. You might have to get a different camera in time. There's so many things that go with this that can possibly change it and make the outcome completely different. I mean, you might get that lighting where the background just lights them up perfect with that blue, or there's times where one venue has this laser light show, which sometimes you can get some really cool photos, and I've gotten some really cool photos. Other time, half the photos are crap because the strobe light hits and you've got like part of their face. and that's all, and the rest of the photo is completely white. So that's some of the challenges on the live music. I do predominantly have about two lenses that I use. I use a mirrorless M50 Canon camera. Uh, the majority of actually all four of the cameras that I have in my camera bag on any given day is predominantly I record all of my live photos with my mirrorless M50 Canon M50 camera. Uh, my cemetery and a lot of my nature shots are I use my uh, Canon Rebel T7 thing. It's a non-mirrorless. I'm not what you classify as your normal photographer because I don't know all the names and all the settings and all the little things. I just go take pictures. I also use my mirrorless one to record the interviews, which lately those have turned out really good. And then for the live show, the live footage, I use my. Oh, excuse me. We're consistently burping here. I use my Canon GX7, which records the live concerts really good. It doesn't need the extra mic thing like the Canon M50 does. So I find out what I can use and what I can work with. I also have one camera bag that I carry around with that I have all my camera gear in, the different lenses, the adapters, uh, my 2,000 fucking batteries that I gotta carry around because if you don't have the 2,000 batteries, you go to a show and every one of your batteries are dead. Which, speaking of batteries, I need to charge mine before I get ready to do another concert or go out and take photos. With it being fall time, I want to get outside and go out and do some nature photos because when the leaves start changing, I always enjoy that. Like I said, I also do nature photography. I just go out and get lost and find cool places. That for me is probably one of the things that I enjoy the most about the nature photography because I'll go out and like magnet fish, and that's usually when I find the most secluded places. I can get cool pictures of the river, cool nature shots. I also enjoy going and finding abandoned buildings, which with the price of gas lately, it's a little more complicated to get out and want to go drive for 45 minutes around on dirt roads looking for abandoned buildings. Uh, but man, the ones that I have found are really cool. I got to work on obviously editing all those photos and the videos that I shot while I was there because I'm a one man crew. So if I go to a concert and I record 40 videos and then I photograph 1,000 pictures, I still have to go through and edit every one of those. And the way that I found to get the most out of the videos is you got to edit the video itself, and then you've got to upload it to Facebook and YouTube, and then I create a reel from it because I found out the reels will also generate views onto my actual channel and will draw people into it, which is a nice thing to finally realize. And those are the little things that I've learned throughout time. So every video that I shoot has at least it gets two videos out of it. Your regular video and then your reel to try to generate more traffic in. I'm finding out that seems to be working pretty good. I'm not up to the 10 million that they're wanting for the algorithm part of it, but with that being said, I'm still generating a couple hundred people seeing the reel, which in turns if they like it, they'll go check out the actual video on my channel. They've subscribed to it. They found different bands. So that's one thing that I do with the videos. Where am I going with this? This is the downfall of trying to do this stuff without having other people put on their messages. Also, the way that I do certain things, like the street photography, is I will just go kind of walk around downtown areas after shows, or if I'm in the area. I enjoy going and walking downtown areas and finding different small towns and seeing what they have to offer, because sometimes the buildings are really cool that I can go take pictures of. I've walked around in a couple of the places that I've lived, and I've gone back to a few of them because it's just the small towns have that different feel to it where uh, they haven't been updated, and they kind of have that older feel to it and that older look to it, which for me with photography and doing night photography, it's always fun and a challenge because you got to try to figure out which way you're going to shoot this thing and how you're going to take a picture. And it may take 5 or 6 photos for me to find that one shot that I'm actually looking for. So that for me is always a fun thing. It gets me out. It gets me doing something other. Uh, there's been a few places I've had to be a little cautious with because of the homeless people and some of the addicts that were living in the area. I watched one dude walk by me 4 times, and suddenly, as I'm taking pictures, I'm reaching down in my pocket. I make sure I got my pocket knife in my hand. Better safe than sorry, just in case. I mean, I'm gonna probably die before I give up my camera gear because I paid for it. It's mine. You're not stealing it from me. Fuck you. And that's the mentality that I have. And not saying that's the best mentality to have, but I spent a lot of money on the gear that I have, and in time I hope to upgrade some of my gear. Um, but yeah, photography for me isn't about trying to get that perfect shot that everybody's always looking for, because if you spend so much time looking for that perfect shot, then you're going to miss all the other perfect shots that happen. Like the person in midair jumping off a riser into the crowd, and you happen to look over and see it, and you're just and you're taking photos as fast as you can, and one of those 10, 12, 20 photos turns out to be really cool, where they're crowd surfing or they're jumping off of something, or they're head banging, or they just have that movement to it, or that pose. That for me is always the icing on the cake, per se, is you get that one great shot. Granted, you get a bunch of other really good shots, but you get that one great shot where you're like, ooh, that's fucking cool. I had one where they're an 80s rock band, but they write all newer material. It's, oh, hang on, let me think of their name really quick. I've got them. Crap, what is their name? My Juliet. And one of their guys dresses up kind of as a 80s hair metal look. And he kind of, there was one photo that I got where you can see him looking over, and he just got that smirk where you caught it. And for me, that's the one where it's like, that's an awesome photo. I like that photo. And for being a photographer, everybody else is, and I love the feedback, and don't get me wrong, and I love the compliments. But for me, I'm always the hardest my on my photos, because I always think I could get a better photo, or if I had a better camera, or if I had some better gear. And then I start realizing that I don't need the better camera or the better gear, or I don't need the 12 different cameras and the 47 different lenses. One, that's a whole shitload of stuff to carry, and my back's going to hate me after that. Two, you can get just as good as pictures with, like, obviously smaller cameras, older cameras. I know people that are rocking cameras from like 5, 10 years ago because that's what works best for them, and they don't like the newer stuff. I've got some friends that are photographers that put out amazing, amazing work, and they're using their phone, and it's incredible what they can capture. They have a different eye, and with going to different shows and talking to different photographers and seeing what gear they're using, and you just talk shop with them and chop it up, it's always fun because you'll be talking to them. It's like, man, I really love your work. I admire it. You know, every time I see your stuff come up, I always check it out, and I want to see, how they get this picture, how they get this angle, what kind of gear are they rocking, and then you're talking to them, and they're telling you that they admire your stuff just as much as you're admiring their stuff, and for me, it's mind blowing, and you have to have that kind of mentality because if you think you're the greatest photographer, I've met some photographers at shows that are like, oh, I have this camera lens and it costs this much, and I got this camera and it costs this much. I don't give a fuck what your cameras cost or how much they cost. Let me see your work. Well, I took this one picture 12 years ago at this concert. Okay, so you have one picture from 12 years ago. What else? Like, I'm following you now. Where's the photos from the shows? I know it's been 3 months, and I know I'm slow on getting stuff out, but you did a photo shoot and you got paid for it. Where are these photos at? I want to see them. So that's always one thing. I think all the photographers that I've met are always really humble and really down to earth, and they don't think that their work is, they enjoy their work and everybody likes their work, but I think they're like me in a sense where they could do this, it could be better. And that's just a personal critique and criticism, and it's nothing anybody's. I mean, I was a vocalist in a band for a while, and everybody's like, when they heard the recordings, oh man, these are great recordings. I took a breath there. I paused too long there. I did this too long here. It's the artist that always is the hardest on themselves, regardless of anything. The painter, the photographer, the videographer, the band member. It's always like that, and there's nothing you can really do about it. Just make sure you keep liking the people's stuff because that's the big thing. Um, yeah, there's a few photographers that I've met throughout time. I think some of their artwork is a little too pricey, but hey, if they're selling it, then by all means, man, definitely rock that stuff. If you notice my head moving, my cat wants my attention, so I'm trying to pet him and still do my little photography podcast thing. But yeah, with photography, go out and take the pictures. The other thing that I think people misconstrue about photography is you don't take pictures for other people. I mean, unless you're being paid and it's like an actual photo shoot. But like if you're going out and taking nature pictures or you're going to a concert and snapping some shots that you're doing because you enjoy it, you take the pictures for yourself and you put out the work that you like. If there's a picture you think is amazing, then share it, post it, hit all the social media stuff that you need to. Because if you're not posting it, then people aren't going to see it. But if you're so worried about, like, oh, are people going to like this? Man, don't worry. If people like it, people will be drawn to it. If people don't like it, they won't be drawn to it. It's just the duality of life. And I think people get caught up where if I do this, I'm going to make money. If I do this, I'm going to make money. Man, if you're getting paid for some photos, by all means, man, rock that shit. If you're doing it because you enjoy it, I've never once had anybody really getting on me like, man, where are those photos at? Hey, when are you going to get those photos out? Dude, I'm doing this stuff for free. Like, I've got a life on top of the stuff that I have. Like, I work a regular job. I have kids. Uh, there's those type of things that you can't get away from. So, be patient. And I've never once had a person get, like, super on me about it. I mean, I've had a few people that are like, hey, man, we haven't seen anything for a couple weeks, everything good. You explain what's going on. They're like, hey, man, we appreciate everything you do. Because I don't get paid for the stuff that I do. I mean, granted, I'll get a free sticker or a t-shirt or a hat every now and then, a koozie. And I make sure I give shout outs to the bands that, I get some merch from, but I don't go out there like I'm taking photos for you. I need a t-shirt, or I'm taking photos for you, I need a sticker. They all that stuff costs money. And the trade for the photos for those things is freaking awesome. But if I'm not getting anything, it doesn't bother me. I do it because I enjoy it. I want to try to help out the local guys and girls. There's a few local girls in there. The local persons and peoples. I just want to give them the best quality work that I can possibly put out and give, because I think that is your calling card when it comes down to it. And it's like, obviously the internet is huge right now, because I'm recording a freaking podcast talking about photography, which I never thought I would be doing. I also never thought I'd be photographing concerts again. But with the internet is, oh, my nose is itching. But the internet is a funny thing, because people see your stuff, and then you start going out to shows, and you start doing enough, and you start tagging people in it, and you start getting your name out there, and people start recognizing you, which is mind-boggling. Like, going to concerts and going to introduce myself, and people are already like, we know who you are, we appreciate what you do, thanks for coming here, I hope you can get some good videos and photos for us. Hi, you guys are in this band, right? Dude, you know what band we're in? Well, I gotta do research so I know who I'm looking for at shows and who I can talk to. Granted, I'll still talk to anybody, but that's not really the point. The point is, I gotta know who my subject matters are and who the subject peoples are. Peoples? Okay. But like, the word of mouth and what you're doing is obviously reaching people. The internet is reaching people. It's a really fun thing, because I like, with just being at shows, I was talking to one lady, and we're talking, and she's showing me her gear, and we're talking about photography and what we're using, and we're snapping pictures the whole time at the show. The next day, I gotta wait till the second day of this concert comes around, so I'm just out in the town in Lincoln, Nebraska, just fiddle farting around. And I think that day I ended up going taking pictures of cemetery. And I'm sitting there and I'm randomly scrolling through my phone, and all of a sudden I see pictures from P-Wiz pics coming up. Holy shit, alright, she's got, they got new pics up. Hey, that looks an awful lot like the show I was just at last night. So, doing a little bit of research online, comes to find out, I was talking with Pam from P-Wiz Pics all fucking night, didn't even realize it. Like, was that oblivious. Saw her the next night, ended up telling her, I didn't even realize that was you. I apologize for that, but I love your photos. Or, being able to do photos with, like, Daniel Scott and Dusty Boatwright and Eric Lawrence, or Fishbone Photography, and WBC Vision, I think is the name of that one. Hang on, let me double check my little listy thing. WBC Visions, I was correct. Like, I've done work with some of those guys. Like, there's also Widows Production that in time I hope I can do some work with that guy. He's freaking phenomenal rapper. I've worked with Sarah Maple Photography, and like, I think the one that I'm really looking forward to is at some point in time meeting Memories by Dottie. Obviously, those are just some photographers that I know in the local area that I've worked with, and by working with, meaning we're at the same show and we're taking photos of the same band. It's not that like they're paying me or I'm paying them. It's we're at the same place. We're working the same. We're in a sense, working the same show, even though we're enjoying the show, but we're working the same show and like seeing their stuff coming up. And it's like, ooh, what'd you get? Ooh, what was your pictures? And seeing the different concepts and the different ways that they're shooting photos and being at the exact same show that they're at and meeting each other because internet's a fickle thing. You can talk to people all you want on the internet, but you don't actually get and be I always have this thing where it's I'm putting a face to a profile picture because yeah, I can chat with these people all fucking day online, but until I actually get to meet them, I don't know them. That's my mentality. Like we can talk for weeks and weeks, hitting each other back with photo stuff and different shows and what we're hitting up, and maybe we can get together sometime, and you know. And for me, that's always a different thing is being able to work, which we're having fun. We're at a show and we're hanging out with all our friends. That's the thing for me that is the best part about it. It's not really so much work, but I've been talking a lot about my concert photography. Nature photography is just as tricky. You got to have the lighting right. Like everything is based on lighting and the way that it is, and your angles and how you get the pictures to turn out. And I always enjoy seeing different photographers pop up on my news feeds on Facebook and the other social medias that I'm on because I enjoy seeing what other people are doing. I enjoy seeing the photos that they're putting out and what they're seeing. Photography is like looking through someone else's eyes of how do they see the world? How do they see things different from you? And I think it would be fun to get a group of 3 or 4 photographers and we just meet up in an area and be like, okay, you have from these streets to these streets, north and south, and these streets to these streets, east and west. And, you know, you guys have 3 hours or 2 hours. And we pick a time of the day and we go. And for me, I think that would be a complete blast and so much fun because and then get everybody back at the house, get them all get them on their laptops, and okay, hey, we're gonna spend the rest of the night just kind of going through photos and seeing what we got, and everybody's got to have these posted by 6 o'clock on Sunday, and just having fun that way. I've also made a few comments that rather than a battle of the bands, they need to have a battle of the photographers. I think would be personally hilarious and, in a sense, a different genius way of looking at it because Battle of the Bands is going to push each band to put on their best performance, which is great. But every band should also be putting on their best performance that they can every show that they put on. If not, what are you doing out there? But I think it would be fun to do a battle of the photographers just to see, because obviously that's going to push every band to put on a incredible show for everybody that attends. But doing that in the same sense is, and you can have cash prizes, or you can just get everybody together and be like, we had a great time, and you got X amount of time to put your photos out for this show. If you got to travel, we'll give some extra time. If you're working full time, we'll give it, by the following Friday, we got to have them all out. Which doesn't seem like that unfair of a thing to do, but I think it would be a blast to be part of. Just a battle of photographers to see what different people see, how they see the show, the angles, where they're getting them from, and it's always fun because sometimes you just get those people that will do what we want, as long as we're not affecting the actual presence of the show. That's the biggest thing. If you want to get the good shots, do not interfere with what the bands are doing. That's rude. You're probably going to get kicked or hit. And I don't know, it's not being courteous if you're getting in front of other people. I try to be very mindful of where I'm walking and seeing who's got phones up and who's recording stuff or taking pictures. I try really hard not to walk in front of them. Not saying that I haven't before, and I usually try to, hey, I'm sorry, my bad, sorry, my, fuck. Like, trying to be courteous of them. And, but photography is so much fun for me. I've always kind of enjoyed it. I like having the cards now because then I don't have to go through the rolls of film. But I've always been into photography. I've always enjoyed it. I like being able to it there's a level of freedom for me. I can express myself through my eyes and how I see stuff. Um from time to time I've been told that I look at things a different way than most people. I don't know if it's like the ADHD and the gifted program of you've got people on like there's two spectrums and I've got both of them. Like one's for the the learning disabilities and the ADHDs. Um, well, mainly the learning disabilities. Like it gives me a disadvantage at things, but then I've got ADHD, so my brain's racing 900 million miles an hour. And then I was in the gifted program, which meant I had a high IQ. So I'm learning disability means I've got lower IQ, but then I'm also higher IQ. So I don't know how that all works, but it just seems to work good for me. I've eventually figured it all out, but it's all about seeing the world through a different perspective and a different way of looking at it. I have a different way of thinking about things, and the moment that you finally realize that you're free to take pictures of whatever you want and there's nothing restraining you, that you don't have to take pictures for people in general, you take pictures of things that you like to see, and you hope that people like the same things. That's the way that I look at it, because if I go out and I'm like, okay, what's popular on this site, or what's popping on here, or what's then I'm trying too hard and I'm not being authentic to the way that I see things or the way that I do things in my photography. So when you finally get to the state of being free and you're not held down by any guidelines or anything along that way, then you're free to do whatever you want with it. If you want to take Polaroids of pictures and then take a collage of the Polaroids, man, by all means do it. Nothing, don't let anybody stop you from enjoying what you do with your photography. Obviously, you're gonna have people out there that are critics. Oh man, fuck this sucks. Okay, let's see your photos. Oh, I don't have any. Okay, then shut the fuck up. If you're not willing to put your art out there or your vision, then people really shouldn't talk shit on it. That's the way that I feel on it. I don't know if I'm on the same wave pattern or train of thought as other people, but that's the way that I look at it. If you're not putting stuff out there the same, where if you're going to critique me on what I do, you better have something out there I can critique you on. But also, don't be rude about things. Like, hey man, I really, I appreciate it, but it's not for me. This isn't my style of photos. This isn't what draws my attention. You don't even have to say that. You can just hit the like button. Like, and if you really like it, wow, the wow emoji or the love emoji, or if it's a certain one, a caring emoji. But, you don't always have to interject your 2 cents into everything. Yes, I'm saying a whole bunch of whatever I want because I'm just trying to figure out how to do this and doing different amounts of time. I'm literally just kind of talking about photography and the different things that I enjoy about it, the different things that I've experienced with it, And it's kind of free to be able to do this type of stuff where, maybe somebody will tune in about my photography thing, or maybe next time I can go more in depth with a different subject matter, or it's the cool thing about being able to talk about this stuff. There's a freedom, and with my photography, it's relaxing. And I've made comments that I take pictures of headstones and I go walk through cemeteries. It's relaxing for me. There's a ton of cemeteries all over the place. I found little small ones out in the middle of nowhere that took me 20 minutes to photograph just walking around to get all the headstones. There's been other ones that have taken me a couple hours. There's a couple cemeteries I put a small dent in the amount of headstones that I've photographed. I took almost 1,000 pictures in one cemetery, and I got halfway through a section. If that's it. And a lot of the pictures were one picture per headstone. But I enjoy it because, for me, obviously, I said it was relaxing. It's cool to see the different times, the different headstones, the different style of headstones, how people want to be remembered. And I think I will leave that at the headstone one, because I honestly think that could be a whole video vlog, blog, whatchamadoodle thing in its own. So, I mean, photography is an extension of your vision and the way that you see things. And hopefully people like what you're doing. And it's enjoyable, it's rewarding, and it's a lot of fun because you get to capture moments. But also make sure at times that when the moment is yours, you don't have to be right behind the camera. If it's your kid's wedding, hire somebody to come take the photos. If it's your child's, if it's a gender reveal, if it's, well, high school dances, you can probably take some photos of that. But like Christmas, man, it's one thing to capture the moment. It's another thing to miss the moment completely because you were so focused on the photos. Like I don't take a lot of pictures of my kids during Christmas. I don't take a lot of pictures of the kids in front of the tree or opening presents, because for me, being in that moment with them is my memory. Like we might take a picture of them in front of the Christmas tree with no presents, because I don't think that's something cool to brag about, because there are people that are on Facebook that have different financial situations that either they're getting a ton of presents or they're not getting very many. But like taking a picture of the kids in front of the Christmas tree, post that, hey look, there's your Christmas picture, that's all you guys get. Because I want to have the experiences and the memories to myself, and I'll share some of them with people, but I like keeping the memories to myself. Like one of the kids had a gender reveal that I took the photos for, but I made sure her mom wasn't taking any pictures and was there for the moment. Or when I go to the grandkids' birthday, I'm there for the grandkid, but I'm also, the moms asked me to take the pictures because they like what I do. But I can hang out with the grandkid and be content, but I'm also being asked to take pictures so she can focus on the birthday party and be making the memories herself. So when it comes to photography, don't forget to make the memories for yourself as well as for other people. And it's very important to do those things, because sometimes people forget, like, oh, we got to get every Christmas picture and we got to make sure we post it to Facebook and we got to get all the likes. Well, I'm sorry, on Christmas, the last thing I'm worried about, I'll get on Facebook long enough to be like, Merry Christmas, picture of the kids, and that's it. I stay off of it because everybody else is flooding it with their Christmas pictures. And I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast thing about my experience with photography and my concert photography. I'm hoping to be able to do more of these on a regular basis, and I hope you can too. I hope people have stayed watching this till the end. I doubt it, because a lot of the times people don't, which is okay. I enjoy what I do, and if you're still here, thanks for watching. I greatly appreciate it and hanging out with me, listening to me yak with 40 minutes of just nonstop me talking about photography stuff off the top of my head. I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It helps me out. Uh, Find me on Facebook, Redbeard the Hippie. I'm looking at putting together a link tree so you can find all that. It'll be in the descriptions down below. I greatly appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed me talking about photography. So stay tuned for more of the other podcasts that I'll be doing with different ideas and different subject matter. So, again, thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it.